when tech titan Elon Musk, the polarizing billionaire behind Tesla and X, stormed onto the set of The View to confront rapperess Jasmine Crockett. The political and cultural worlds collided in a firestorm. Expecting to dominate a debate over his controversial political influence, Musk was blindsided by Crockett's razor-sharp response, exposing a side of the mogul that shatters his image as an untouchable visionary. In a studio charged with tension, Crockett, a fierce Texas congresswoman, turned Musk's ambush into a masterclass in defiance, leaving him scrambling and the audience roaring. This isn't just a talk show spat. It's a raw unmasking of power and accountability in the public square. Stick around as we dive into the explosive details, and make sure to subscribe and drop your thoughts in the comments, because this story reveals the real Elon Musk like never before. According to insiders, the clash was brewing long before Musk stepped into the ABC studio. Crockett, a rising Democratic star known for her unapologetic critiques, had recently slammed Musk on social media and in interviews, calling him out for amplifying divisive rhetoric on X and meddling in political discourse. "Elon's playing puppet master with democracy," she tweeted, a post that went viral and reportedly infuriated Musk. Sources say he demanded a spot on The View to set the record straight, arriving with a small entourage and an air of supreme confidence. Elon was all swagger, a crew member recalled. He was joking with the staff, acting like he owned the place. Crockett, meanwhile, was prepared. Informed of Musk's last-minute appearance, she arrived armed with data and resolve, her team coordinating with producers to ensure she could counter any narrative Musk pushed. Jasmine was calm but laser-focused, a production assistant noted. She was ready to take him on no matter what he threw. The stage was set for a showdown with the hosts, Whoopi Goldberg, Joy Behar, and Sunny Hostin, bracing for a volatile segment. When the show began, the studio buzzed with anticipation, the audience's energy electric as the hosts introduced the unexpected face-off. Musk strode out, his trademark smirk in place, to a mixed reception of cheers and murmurs. Crockett, already seated, met his entrance with a steely gaze, her posture radiating authority. The contrast was stark. Musk, brash and performative, versus Crockett, composed and unyielding. Whoopi opened with a question about Musk's political influence, but he quickly pivoted to Crockett. "Jasmine, you've been pretty vocal about me," he said, his tone dripping with condescension. "Calling me a threat to democracy? That's a bit dramatic, don't you think?" The audience tensed, and Crockett leaned forward, her voice steady but sharp. "Dramatic? No, Elon, it's accurate," she said. "You're using X to amplify division, pushing narratives that hurt communities while dodging accountability. That's not innovation, it's interference." The audience erupted, some cheering, others gasping, and Musk's smirk faltered, his eyes narrowing. "I'm just giving people a platform," he shot back, leaning back with a shrug. "If you can't handle free speech, maybe politics isn't your game." Crockett's eyes flashed, but her voice remained calm. "Free speech doesn't mean free rein to spread chaos," she said, her tone cutting through the studio. "You're not neutral, Elon. You're shaping narratives to suit your agenda, and people see through it." The audience roared, and Musk's face tightened, clearly unprepared for her precision. Whoopi tried to steer the conversation, but Musk pressed on, his voice rising. "You're throwing stones from a glass house, Jasmine. Politicians like you love to preach, but what about your own record? Care to talk about that?" The jab was vague but pointed, aiming to rattle Crockett. The audience fell silent, sensing the shift to personal territory. Crockett adjusted her glasses, her smile tight but unyielding. "My record's an open book, Elon," she said, her voice steady. "I fight for working people, not billionaires playing God with democracy. You want to talk records? Let's talk. Yours, lawsuits, labor violations, X's chaos. Pick one." The audience exploded, chanting, "Jasmine, Jasmine!" as Musk's composure cracked his hands clenching as the segment teetered on the edge of combustion. The studio was a tinderbox, the audience's chants of "Jasmine, Jasmine," fueling the escalating clash. With no commercial break to pause the intensity, the View's producers opting to let the segment run for maximum impact, the confrontation surged forward, raw and unscripted. Backstage, Musk's team huddled nervously, one aide whispering, "He's not ready for her." The crew, scattered around the set, exchanged wide-eyed glances, a sound tech muttering, "Crockett's tearing him apart." Crockett, seated with unwavering poise, kept her eyes locked on Musk, her calm authority a stark contrast to his growing agitation. Musk, his smirk gone, leaned forward, his voice tinged with irritation as he tried to regain control. "All right. Jasmine, you want to play hardball?" Musk said, his tone sharp with mockery. "You're out here calling me a problem, but what about your party's mess? You talk about accountability, but where's yours? Like those viral rants of yours. Some say you're just chasing clout." The jab was personal, referencing Crockett's fiery speeches that had galvanized supporters but drawn critics. The audience murmured, and Crockett's smile tightened, her voice steady but cutting. "Clout? No, Elon, I'm speaking truth to power," she said. "My rants, as you call them, are for the people who've been ignored. You'd know that if you ever stepped out of your bubble." The audience roared, some standing, and Musk's face flushed, his hands gripping the chair. "Bubble?" he snapped, his voice rising. "I'm building the future, cars, rockets, free speech. What are you building besides sound bites?" The attack was desperate, and Crockett leaned forward, her presence commanding the stage. "I'm building a world where people aren't crushed by billionaires like you," she said, her voice booming. "You call it free speech, but it's a megaphone for chaos, and you're the one turning the volume up. That's not progress. It's recklessness." The audience erupted, chanting, "Jasmine!" as Musk's eyes widened, his control slipping. Whoopi tried to intervene, raising a hand, but Musk barreled on, his tone now openly hostile. "Recklessness! You're the one throwing accusations with no proof," he shouted, pointing at Crockett. "You say I'm hurting democracy, but where's the evidence? Or are you just mad I'm not bowing to your narrative?" The audience tensed, and Crockett's eyes blazed, her voice calm but lethal. "Evidence? It's in your platform's algorithms, amplifying lies that tear communities apart," she said. "It's in your tweets, pushing fringe voices while silencing others. You're not neutral, Elon. You're a player, and you're playing dirty." The audience went wild, some cheering, others gasping as Musk's jaw clenched, his composure crumbling. "You're twisting everything," Musk shouted, his voice cracking. "I'm giving people a voice, and you can't stand it because it challenges your power." Crockett didn't flinch. "Power?" she fired back, her voice a thunderclap. "I'm a public servant, Elon, fighting for people who can't afford your cars or your rockets. You're the one wielding power, using X to manipulate discourse while pretending it's freedom. That's not a voice. It's a weapon." The audience was on its feet, chanting, "Jasmine! Jasmine!" as Musk's face reddened, his hands shaking. "Sonny." Hostin tried to steer the conversation, but Musk, now visibly unhinged, cut her off. "You're just another politician dodging accountability," he yelled, pointing again. "You attack me, but what about your own failures? You're all talk." Crockett stood, her small frame radiating authority. "I'm done, Elon," she said, her voice booming. "I came here to talk about real issues, healthcare, jobs, justice. You turned it into a tantrum because you can't handle being called out. I'm not here for your games." The audience roared, some standing in ovation as Crockett turned to leave, her team rising to follow. Musk, panic flashing in his eyes, stood too, shouting over the noise. "Yeah, walk away, Jasmine. That's what you do when you can't win." Crockett paused, turning back slowly, her eyes blazing. "I'm not walking away from a fight," she said, her voice calm but searing. I'm leaving a stage you've turned into a circus. You're not a visionary. You're a bully who's met his match." The words landed like a sledgehammer, and Musk froze, his mouth open but no retort coming. The hosts, stunned, signaled for a cut, but the audience's cheers drowned out everything as Crockett exited, leaving Musk standing alone, the stage a wreckage of his own making. The studio was a powder keg, the audience's deafening cheers for Crockett reverberating as she strode toward the exit, her poised departure a searing indictment of Musk's unraveling. With no commercial break to pause the chaos, the views, producers still banking on the raw energy of the unfiltered clash. The confrontation spilled forward, its intensity unrelenting. Backstage, Musk's team scrambled, one aide hissing, "He's losing it." The crew, some openly nodding in awe at Crockett's command, exchanged stunned glances, a camera operator whispering, "Jasmine's unstoppable." Musk, his face, flushed and hands clenched, stood frozen on stage, his eyes darting as Crockett's words echoed. The hosts, caught off guard, tried to regain control, but Musk's voice cut through, shrill with desperation. "You don't get to just walk out, Jasmine," he shouted, pointing after her. "This is a debate, not your soapbox." Crockett paused at the stage's edge, turning slowly, her eyes locking onto Musk with a calm ferocity that silenced the room. "A debate?" she said, her voice low but devastating. "You didn't come to debate, Elon. You came to bully, to drown out anyone who challenges your ego. I'm here for the people, not your power trip." The audience erupted, chanting, "Jasmine, Jasmine!" As Musk's jaw tightened, his control shattered. "Power trip?" he snapped, his voice cracking. "I'm fighting for free speech. You're the one shutting it down, acting like you're the only voice that matters." Crockett stepped back toward the table, her presence towering despite her stature. "Free speech," she fired back, her voice booming. "You're not defending speech. You're weaponizing it. X is a megaphone for division, and you're the one turning up the noise. You're not a hero. You're a manipulator dodging accountability." The audience roared, some standing, and Musk's hands shook, his face reddening. "Manipulator?" he shouted, leaning forward aggressively. "You're the politician here, Jasmine. Twisting words, playing the victim. That's your game, not mine." The accusation was desperate, and Crockett's eyes blazed, her voice steady but lethal. "Victim? No, Elon, I'm a fighter," she said. "I fight for communities you'll never understand, for people crushed by systems you profit from. You call it twisting words? I call it truth, and you're terrified of it." The audience was on its feet, a tidal wave of cheers and gasps as Musk's composure collapsed. Whoopi tried to intervene, her voice firm, but Musk barreled on. "Terrified? I've built empires," he yelled. "You're just a loudmouth with a law degree preaching to your fan club." Crockett's smile was icy, her voice a thunderclap. "Empires built on exploitation don't impress me, Elon," she said. "I'm loud because people need to be heard, not because I need applause. You came here thinking you'd intimidate me, but you're out of your depth." The audience went wild, chanting, "Jasmine!" as Musk's face paled, his hands trembling. Joy Behar tried to pivot, but Crockett stood firm, her voice rising. "I'm done, Elon," she said. "You've shown everyone who you are. A man who'd rather burn bridges than face the mirror. I'm not here for your chaos." The audience roared, some standing in ovation, as Crockett turned to leave again. Musk, panic seizing him, shouted after her, "Yeah, run, Jasmine! You can't handle the real fight." Crockett paused, turning one last time, her eyes like steel. "I handle fights every day, Elon," she said, her voice calm but searing. "But I don't waste my time on bullies who think they're gods. You're not my fight. You're your own worst enemy." The words landed like a knockout punch, and Musk froze, his mouth open but no retort coming. The hosts, stunned, signaled for a cut, but the audience's cheers drowned out the chaos as Crockett exited, her team in tow, leaving Musk standing alone, the stage a monument to his failed ambush. The studio was a maelstrom, the audience's thunderous cheers for Crockett echoing as she exited, her unyielding stride a final verdict on Musk's collapse. With no commercial break to quell the chaos, the View's producers now regretting their choice to let the segment run unfiltered. The fallout unfolded in real time, raw and seismic. Backstage, Musk's team was in disarray, one aide muttering, "He's imploded." Crew members, some openly applauding Crockett's stand, exchanged awestruck glances, a PA whispering, "Jasmine just schooled him." Musk, still on stage, slumped into his chair, his face pale and hands trembling, staring at the empty space where Crockett had stood. The hosts, visibly shaken, tried to pivot, but Musk's voice, hoarse with desperation, cut through. "She's the one dodging!" he shouted, his words hollow against the audience's lingering chants of "Jasmine!" Backstage, Crockett's team rallied around her, their faces a mix of pride and relief as they moved toward the exit. Security, summoned by the frantic producer, lingered awkwardly, unsure whether to intervene. "Ms. Crockett, we need a moment," the head guard said, his tone hesitant. Crockett turned, her eyes blazing with calm authority. "A moment for what?" she said, her voice steady. "Your guest tried to ambush me and I answered. We're done." The guard stepped back, glancing at the producer, who'd rushed after her, his face slick with panic. "Jasmine, please, let's just de-escalate," he pleaded, but Crockett held up a hand. "De-escalate? Tell that to the man who came here to bully me on live TV. I'm not the problem," Musk, now stumbling. Backstage, pushed past the producer, his voice a mix of rage and pleading. "Jasmine, you can't just walk away," he yelled, his tie askew. "You twisted everything. Let's finish this." Crockett turned fully, her presence filling the corridor. "Finish what, Elon?" she said, her voice low but devastating. "You came here to silence me, to flex your power. Instead, you showed the world you're a man who crumbles when challenged. That's not a debate. It's your failure." The crew, some trailing into the hallway, gasped, a grip nodding in quiet awe. Musk flinched, his hands shaking. "Failure?" he sputtered. "I'm changing the world. You're just a politician yelling for attention." Crockett's eyes narrowed, her voice a thunderclap. "Changing the world?" she said. "You're breaking it, Elon, with your chaos and your ego. I yell for the people who can't, for the communities you'll never see. You thought you'd intimidate me, but you're outmatched." The corridor fell silent, crew members exchanging stunned looks as Musk's jaw worked soundlessly, no retort forthcoming. The producer, desperate to end the standoff, tried again. "Jasmine, please, we can—" But Crockett cut him off. "You invited this mess," she said. "Your audience saw the truth. So did you." With that, she turned and walked out, her team in tow, the exit doors closing with a final thud. A young crew member, clutching a clipboard, approached Crockett's aide as they reached the studio's outer doors. "Tell her she's a queen," she said, her voice trembling. The aide nodded, and Crockett's silhouette vanished into the city lights. The fallout was immediate. Clips of the confrontation exploded online, racking up millions of views within hours. Crockett vs. Musk and Jasmine Rules trended globally as fans, activists, and insiders dissected Musk's meltdown. Anonymous crew leaks detailed his pre-show arrogance and rattled demeanor post-clash, painting a portrait of a mogul undone by hubris. The View's ratings soared, but Musk's reputation took a hit, with X-posts amplifying Crockett's takedown. "Jasmine Crockett just handed Elon his ego on a platter," one viral tweet read. Crockett, ever focused, declined follow-up interviews, her team releasing a brief statement. Repiorge Crockett stands by her words and her work for the people. Supporters flooded her platforms, hailing her as a voice for the voiceless, with "Doing a Crockett" coined for standing up to power, with unyielding truth. Musk's social media rants, dismissing the clash as political theater, backfired, drowned by comments praising Crockett's poise and shredding his deflection. The confrontation was a stark reminder. In a world of influence and egos, authenticity and conviction prevail, and real strength is fighting for those who need it most.